Hey everyone, it's Rylan. It's Saturday, November 5th, 2016 at 8:42 p.m. And I wanted to talk about something that I don't really talk about on my YouTube or really in my life unless you know me like super well. But I figured why not talk about this? Spread some knowledge, make some people feel less alone, all that shit. So, I struggle with a mental illness called borderline personality disorder. And I'm sure if you've seen Girl Interrupted, you've heard of it because that's what Winona Ryder's character has. So I'm just going to read off some of the symptoms of borderline personality so you can kind of get an understanding of how this might affect my life or someone else that has borderline. So let's see. Intense, highly changeable moods that can last for several days or just a few hours. Strong feelings of anxiety, worry, and depression. Impulsive, risky, self-destructive, and dangerous behaviors, including reckless driving, drug or alcohol abuse, and having unsafe sex. Frantic efforts to avoid being abandoned by friends and family. Distorted and unstable self-image, which affects moods, values, opinions, goals, and relationships. Suicidal and self-harming behavior, suicidal ideation. Periods of intense depressed mood, irritability, or anxiety lasting a few hours to a few days. Chronic feelings of boredom or emptiness. Inappropriate, intense, or uncontrollable anger often followed by shame and guilt. Dissociative feelings, disconnecting from your thoughts or sense of identity or out-of-body type of feelings, and stress-related paranoid thoughts. And then the ones that relate to me the most are the persistent fear of abandonment and rejection, including extreme emotional reactions to real and even perceived abandonment, and unstable personal relationships that alternate between idealization, I'm so in love, and devaluation, I hate her. This also sometimes known as splitting. So the reason I even want to make this video is because I've had a really rough week this week dealing with my borderline symptoms. A specific situation came up that triggered my symptoms to rear their ugly head. And I'm not going to get into the details, but there is a situation that exacerbated my borderline symptoms this week. And the whole week was just really unhealthy and unpleasant because I was convinced that a friendship that I had ended and that this person was mad at me and hated me, which is something that I constantly do. I'm convinced that a lot of people don't like me and that I don't have any friends and that people are going to leave me. Even my closest friends, I'm afraid that they are going to abandon me. And that's not really a fun way to live, to always be concerned about whether or not people are going to leave you or not. But I mean, I've had so many unhealthy relationships in my life where I have become dependent on other people and they have distanced themselves from me because I became too clingy. The biggest way that my borderline affects me is the fear of abandonment, but also my attachment to people. I get attached to people really fast. Not with everyone, but with a lot of people. I form very close, tight bonds with people in a very short amount of time. It's not normal for me to get as attached as I do to people, but unfortunately, like, this is what happens when you have borderline. So I become obsessed with people, I become very clingy, I become needy, and in return that ends up pushing people away and making them uncomfortable. And I usually just end up losing that person because they don't set up boundaries with me, they just like back off. And the sad thing is like I'm aware of when I'm doing these things, but it doesn't stop the feelings from happening. Like, I knew this week that I was having obsessive thoughts and that my mind was in a really unhealthy place, but that didn't stop the behavior from occurring. I was aware of it, but it didn't change anything, which is really agonizing. And it was just a really tormenting week. It was absolutely horrible, to be honest. It was probably one of the worst weeks I've had in a very long time. So yeah, I get attached to people really fast, and I end up scaring people away because I come on too strong, and I can come off as very needy and lonely and clingy, which are not attractive qualities. Like, nobody wants that, you know? And, you know, it gets worse when there's romantic feelings attached to it. The specific situation that happened this week, there weren't romantic feelings attached to it, but if there was, oh my God, this would be so much worse. But when I like someone, I mean, I go from like 0 to like 500. I go to 0 to 500, and it's really unhealthy. Now, my favorite thing that I've ever heard about borderline personality is this. Some doctor said this. They said, borderline individuals are the psychological equivalent of third-degree burn patients. They simply have, so to speak, no emotional skin. So basically, when you look at borderline personality, you can just look at it as being extremely sensitive. I feel things a lot stronger than other people do. Especially the negative emotions. Like, when it comes to abandonment and rejection, I feel that so strong. I'm not going to get into the details of what happened this week because it doesn't matter, and I honestly don't even want to think about it anymore. But I perceived someone to be abandoning me and distancing themselves from me, so I freaked out and became a psychotic mess, to say the least. Because I don't have anything protecting me. Like, you could poke me and say like the littlest thing, and then I can take that as like this great assault. Like, I was literally, it was a bad week. I'll stop saying that, but it was just a really bad week because I'm talking around what happened because I don't want to, and in case I have the balls to show the person what I'm talking about. If I show them this video, I don't want to like say the whole thing. But anyway, so it really affects my relationships. I have very unstable relationships with people. I can become very clingy and attached. But then on the flip side, what's really frustrating is what's called splitting, and that is idolizing people and then hating them. So when I meet a new friend or I have someone that I like romantically, I can put these people on fucking the highest pedestal in the world. They can't do anything wrong. They're perfect. They have no flaws. You know, they're just the greatest person in the world, and I fucking love them, and I just, like, they're the greatest. And I almost don't view these people as human. I don't view them as human beings. I see them almost as gods because they're just so perfect in my eyes, you know? Which is where, like, it becomes obsessive of thinking that someone is, like, basically inhuman and can do no wrong. That's not really conducive to a healthy relationship, you know? I mean, that's not fair to that person to be held to such a high standard. But on the flip side, if this person hurts me or I feel rejected or abandoned by them, I will easily switch on to the opposite and fucking hate this person. Like, full out hate them. There's no like, oh, they hurt me. It's like, no, you hurt me, so I don't ever speak to me again. We're done. And it's really frustrating because I feel like I'm constantly on a fucking roller coaster of emotions. Like, I also have bipolar disorder, which is literally being on a roller coaster all the time. But borderline is a little different because bipolar affects my moods in the sense of like being depressed or manic, but like borderline affects the roller coaster of my relationships in my life. It's just really frustrating, man. I hate that I push people away that are important to me. I hate that I'm always living in fear that the people that matter most to me are going to get sick of my shit and leave me. Because if you're telling people or asking them, are you going to leave me? Are you going to leave me? Eventually they're going to get sick of hearing that question, and they are going to leave you. So it's a really vicious cycle. Maybe you're listening and saying, well, he just sounds really insecure. I mean, a lot of it has to do with needing validation and acceptance from other people. That's a big part of this disorder, is constantly needing to be reassured that you are my friend, or that if you are my partner, that you love me and you're not going to go anywhere. It's very exhausting. You know, kudos to the people in my life that can put up with my shit, because I know that I can be a lot. I know that I can be really sensitive. So yeah, this week was a big eye opener of where I am in like terms of mental stability. Because things got a bit sticky the other night. Not gonna talk about that either, but yeah. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what it is like living with borderline personality disorder. Basically, it just fucks up your relationships with people and ruins everything, is the way that I would put it. And that you are really sensitive and that you feel things a lot stronger than other people. You know, maybe there's some positivity and that I do have feelings that I can feel, but it's just, they're very intense emotions. They're never very mild. It's always like, you know. So yeah, if you have borderline as well, like, hello, friend. But if not, if you know me, or if you know someone that has borderline, like, here's just a little glimpse into what it's like to struggle with something that affects your life in every area. I mean, this penetrates every area of my life. Like, socializing is very important for life, you know, having relationships with other human beings is important. And my life is greatly affected by this disorder. And unfortunately, this week had been completely ruled by my disorder. And it's just unfortunate that my week was ruined by this. But I'm hoping that it'll be a better week, and that, you know, this week will be behind me and everything bad that happened will be okay. And I hope that the person that I had this drama with will be able to understand that, I don't want to say it's not me, it's my disorder, but I want that person to understand that these behaviors aren't new. I've done this with other people before. I know that I can come on really strong and that it can be a bit much for people and make them uncomfortable, but you know, I have the best intentions. I just have a hard time reining in my emotions, I guess. So I hope you have a good day, and thanks so much for watching.